This storage system can hold 1 billion items, and today I'm going to be building it inside a 2.5 million block mega base. This is the largest project I have ever done on my channel, and it has taken me over a year to complete. So I've broken the project down into 15 steps. And now, before I start on step 1, please could I ask that you subscribe, because it is my dream to one day reach 100k. Anyway, let's start on the first step. Now, step 1 is to design this giant mega base. I started designing the base back in August of 2024, and I've been secretly designing it while doing my other projects. But by January this year, I'd finished the design. So now, I can start gathering the resources to build this giant mega base. So, on to step 2, and this is to gather the resources for the exterior of the build. I'm going to be splitting up between doing the exterior and then the interior separately, so it isn't too much to do, even though the exterior is almost a million blocks by itself. Anyway, let's start by gathering the first item, which is 350,000 stone slabs. Now, all these slabs are for building the roof, but when I started building I decided I didn't want to do the roof to the end, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see me building the interior. So actually, I gathered all the slabs, but I didn't need them, but they will come in useful when I do the roof later. What I'm doing, I'm getting all the cobblestone from my cobblestone farm and taking it over to my super smelter. As you can see, there's quite a lot of shulker boxes, because I do need 350,000 slabs. Then what I did, I turned the smelter on and smelted all the cobblestone to turn it into stone. And then, because I didn't fancy crafting that many slabs, I gathered loads of resources, as you can see here. And then I built this machine to do the crafting for me. Then all I had to do was take all of the smelted stone, put it in this machine, turn it on, and then it started crafting all the stone slabs I need. And as you can see, I've got all of them here, and that is the first resource done. Only hundreds more to go. Next, I headed to the end to go to my concrete farm to get a load of white concrete. I've already been AFKing for some before this video started, but I don't quite have enough, so I took the concrete I did have over to my concrete converter, which I'm going to be using later. Then I went to my concrete duping farm, switched out all of the items for white concrete, turned it on and AFK'd until I had enough. And now that I've got enough white concrete powder, I'm taking it all to my converter, and then I'm going to convert it all into white concrete for the build. And there it is, that's all of the white concrete I'm going to need. But now that I've got all that, I need to head back into the end to get some grey concrete powder. Luckily, I actually have enough of this one, so all I need to do is grab loads and take it all over to my concrete converter. Now all the concrete powder's at my converter, I'm just going to convert it all. And here it is, that's all the grey concrete that I needed. Next I'm going to grab a shulker box of stone. I'm going to turn all the stone into stone stairs by using a stone cutter. And now, once again, I'm heading to the end. You may notice this happens quite a lot in this episode, mostly because I built the entire base out of concrete. Anyway, this time I'm here for light grey concrete, and luckily I've got enough. I took all of that and then went back to my concrete converter once again to convert all of the concrete. And there we are, that's all the light grey concrete I'm going to need. Now, the next item that I need is cyan terracotta. So, I've headed to a mesa biome to mine a load of terracotta. So let's build a beacon. And now, let's get mining away this entire mountain. And there we go, I've mined away an entire mountain. And this is all the terracotta I've got, which will be plenty. Now I need to get some cyan dye. So I've grabbed some cactuses, and now I'm going to smelt them to make green dye. Now that I've got all the green dye, I'm going to head over to a cornflower farm. And now I need to get loads and loads of cornflowers. Now I've got them, I'm going to craft them into blue dye, and then craft the blue dye with the green dye to make cyan dye. And here we go, that's all the cyan dye I'm going to need. And now let's craft the terracotta with the cyan dye to make cyan terracotta. And there it is, that's all the cyan terracotta I'm gonna need. Even though it isn't the most, that was one of the hardest resources I had to gather, just because of how long it took to mine away all of the terracotta and make all the dyes. Anyway, on to the next item now. I've headed to my blaze farm to kill blaze to get their blaze rods. And now I've got all the blaze rods, I've headed to my chorus fruit farm to get some chorus fruit. Then I took the chorus fruit to my super smelter to turn it into pop chorus fruit. Now, you may not know this, but if you craft blaze rods and pop chorus fruit together, you get end rods. So that's what I've done here. Now I've got a load of end rods. Now I've headed over to my wool farm to get some light grey wool. Then I'm going to craft that wool into carpets. Next I need to go and grab a load of sand, and then I'm going to smelt it to turn it into glass. Then I need to get loads of black dye, and I'm going to craft the glass and the black dye together to make some black stained glass. Who would have seen it coming? Next I'm back at my wool farm again, this time for grey wool. And now that I've got that grey wool, I'm going to craft it into carpet. After that I headed to my bartering farm to go and get some blackstone. Once I had the blackstone, I crafted it into polished blackstone, and then I crafted that into polished blackstone walls. And now once again I'm back in the end, this time for blue concrete. I've already got enough of it here, so I just grabbed it and then I went to convert it. And there we are, that's all the blue concrete converted. And now once again I'm at the wool farm. This time I'm getting some white wool and some light blue wool. And I'm going to craft them both into carpet. And now, for the last item I need to build the exterior, I've grabbed some black dye and some glass. And I'm crafting black glass panes. And now I've got all the resources to build the exterior of my mega base. Building this took me over 2 weeks to do. It's absolutely giant. So as you can see, I've got all my resources laid out here, ready to build. I've got them all organised into different chests to make it as easy as possible. So with that, let's get on, do the time lapse, and build this mega base. Here we go. And there we go, that is the entire exterior of the mega base completed. Obviously, as I said, I haven't done the roof so that you can see the interior when I'm building that during the time lapses, but I will finish it later. Also, I didn't do the floor because that's part of the interior, even though you can see the sea through it, but that doesn't matter. Also, I did decide to build it in the sea because clearing this much space would have taken me absolutely ages. As you can see, I'm on max render distance now of 32 chunks, and there's some points where you can't even load the whole base in. So clearing land for this would have been incredibly hard. So I just decided to build it in the sea. As you can see, I've actually built this right by the Guardian farm, which is a great video by the way if you haven't seen it. So, what I need to do now is get to work on filling this empty space by putting the actual storage system of this mega base in, that is going to be able to hold 1 billion items. But before we do that, step number 4 is to name some fish. You may be confused why this is, but every episode I tell people if they comment on the video, I'll name a fish after them in my next video, which applies for this video. So if you want me to name a fish after you in my next video, make sure you comment on this video, comment anything you like, and I'll name a fish after you next time. But all these fish here are named after people who commented on my last video, so thank you very much to them. As you can see, all the fish are in the tank now, and it's getting very cramped in here, But don't worry, because in the next episode I'm going to be transforming my old base into a giant aquarium for all of these fish. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video. And now let's get on to step number 5, to start gathering the resources for the interior. Now there are loads more different resources to get than there were for the exterior. So we're going to start with the resources I need the most items of and work our way down to the resources I need the least of. Let's start with 612,000 stone, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I headed once again to my cobblestone farm. Now regular viewers may actually notice this isn't my newest cobblestone farm. Recently, a few videos ago, I built a new cobblestone farm, but this video was filmed so long ago that it was actually my old cobblestone farm. And now if you're wondering why it was filmed so long ago, doing this interior has taken me over 2 whole months. But you'll see that soon. First, we need to keep gathering the resources. So now I've got all the cobblestone, I smelted it and turned it all into stone. As you can see here, there is absolutely loads of stone. And every single block of it needs to be placed down, which took ages. The next item I need is 75,000 barrels. So I've headed to my wood farm to use oak logs. Then I'm going to craft those oak logs into planks and slabs, which can then be crafted into barrels. Now, for most of these resources, I'm only going to show me crafting a few of them here and there. The reason for that is because crafting 75,000 barrels isn't the most entertaining thing, and took a really long time. But as you can see, now I've got all the barrels. Next thing I did, once again, is headed to the end, this time for sand. Annoyingly, there was none, as I must have used it all up before, so I headed to my sand duper, then I had to switch all of the other gravity blocks for sand, and then I had to AFK to get all the sand I needed. And there it is, that's all the sand I need, so I'm going to take it to my super smelter. This video was actually what inspired me to build a new super smelter, which is coming very soon, because of how slow it was. Smelting all that stone took about 4 or 5 hours. Anyway, back to it. Now, as you can see, I've got all the sand smelted into glass. Next, I need to grab a load of bone meal. I'm then going to load that bone meal into my tree farm, and I'm going to use this farm to get me loads of oak logs. This is the fastest tree farm in my world, and as you can see, it's actually really fast. So if you're looking for a wood farm to build, I'd recommend this one, it's really good. Now I've got all the oak logs I need, so I'm going to grab some, I'm going to load them into this machine, then going to grab my axe and start stripping the logs. And there we go, I've got all the strip logs I need, and this is about 42,000 of them. Next, I need to head to my Guardian Farm storage, which as I said earlier, is very near to my new mega base. What I'm doing is I'm grabbing a few shulker box of resources to craft some sea lanterns, which is going to be the main block I use to light up my whole base. There we go, that's all the sea lanterns I'm going to need. Next, I'm going to my mud farm. I've already loaded it up with all the dirt, and what it does, it converts the dirt into mud and then blows the mud up. I'm going to AFK here for a few hours to get all the dirt I need. There we are, that's all the mud I'm going to need. Now I'm going to take some of that mud, head over to my wheat farm, then I'm going to use this wheat to pack the mud, then craft that packed mud into packed mud bricks. Now all I need to do is craft another 33,000 mud bricks. Next up, I need one of the most essential items for a storage system, which is hoppers, and 32,000 of them to be precise. So I've grabbed some oak logs, then I'm going to craft those oak logs into chests. Then I've got some iron, and I'm going to combine the iron with the chest to make hoppers, even though I'm sure you all know how you craft hoppers. And there it is, that's all the hoppers I need. The next item I need is some stripped spruce logs. So surprisingly, I then picked up some spruce logs. Then I took them to my log stripper, and would you believe it, I stripped them. There it is, that's all the stripped spruce logs that I need. Oh, and would you look at this, I'm once again back at my cobblestone farm for more cobblestone. And I'm sure you haven't guessed what I'm going to do with it. That's right, I'm going to smelt it to turn it into stone. Now I've got the stone, I'm going to be crafting it into stone bricks, and then into stone brick stairs. Then I'm loading it into all of these shulker boxes. There it is, that's 22,000 stone brick stairs. Next, I'm heading to a farm I built recently, and this is a witch farm. I'm going here because I need redstone. And after the recent updates, witches drop loads of redstone, so it's actually a really good farm to have. So now I've got all the redstone I need, I'm going to place it in a chest on the nether roof here. Next I'm getting some more chorus fruit, and I'm taking it to my super smelter once again to turn it into popped chorus fruit. Then I headed into the nether to go to my blaze farm so I could get blaze rods. Then obviously I combine them again to make more end rods. And these are all the end rods that I crafted. So, you may actually be wondering why I need a new base. There's a couple of reasons. Firstly, this base doesn't have nearly enough storage. It does store every single item, which is great, but it only has 2 double chests for each one. So, with a lot of items like stone and grass, I've run out of space quickly, and I have to keep putting all the items into shulker boxes, which is really time consuming. So, I've solved this problem by giving every single item its own shulker box loader. So hopefully, each item will never run out of space, even things like stone and dirt. Because as I said earlier, this storage system can hold over 1 billion items, which is ridiculous. Another reason is a mistake I made when building my original base. On either wing of my base, where all the items are actually stored, I built these lovely glass wings, and there's even a big glass dome in the top, which look amazing, but the issue is when it turns to night. Because what happens is because they're glass, phantoms can still spawn. So what happens, I just end up getting attacked by phantoms every single night. And then the final reason is just because mobs keep coming into my base as well. So, this new base will be built with so much more storage, and also I'm going to build it with a proper roof and lit up properly, so no more phantoms and mobs. So, you may be wondering what I'm planning to do for this mega base. Well, what I'm going to be doing is making it look like a giant Amazon warehouse. Now you may wonder why. The reason for that is because I had the thought, where is it that loads and loads of random items are stored? Which led me to the idea of building a giant warehouse. Anyway, on with the resource gathering. The next item I need is some stripped birch logs. This is the last of the stripped logs I need, so I grabbed some birch logs, took them to my stripping machine, and you guessed it, I stripped them. And here we are, that's all of the birch stripped logs. Next, I need to head over to my sand duper and AFK for some more sand. Now that I've got all that sand, and I'm sure you know how this works by now, I'm taking it over to my super smelter to turn it into glass. Now I've got all that glass, I'm taking it to my squid farm, so that then I can use the ink sacs to make black dye, and then turn all the glass black. You may remember, I already crafted black glass for the exterior. Now as I said, I'm using the same material list for the interior and exterior, and I just completely forgot that I'd already got black glass. So now I've got double black glass, which isn't really helpful for me at all. But this was actually the only item that happened with. I'd be a bit annoyed if I gathered all that white concrete twice. Next I head to the ice farm, and you may notice as well that this is also an old farm, because in the last video I built a brand new ice farm, which you should check out after this one. But yeah, because as I said, this video was recorded such a long time ago, I hadn't built those farms yet, and that's all the packed ice that I needed. Now that I've got that, I'm back once again at the incredible cobblestone farm. Now I'm going to smelt it, and then I'm going to craft into stone bricks, and then into stone brick walls. And here they are, that's all the stone bricks. I'm getting a bit bored of all this cobblestone smelting now. Next, I need some spruce logs, then I'm crafting the logs into planks, then I'm crafting the planks into chests. And here are all of the chests I need. And now I'm back at the witch farm for some more redstone, then I headed to my bartering farm for some quartz. And would you believe it, I'm at the cobblestone farm for some cobblestone. And now I'm smelting the cobblestone. Now with the cobblestone turned into stone, I crafted some comparators, as you can see here. After that, I crafted observers, as you can see here. And finally, I crafted some repeaters, as you can see here. Now that I've crafted them, I'm heading to my storage to grab some dispensers, as you can see. And now I'm grabbing some sticky pistons. And once again, I'm back in the end. This time I'm here at my shulker shell farm. Because as I said, for this storage system every single item is going to be shulker box loaded. So you may have guessed I'm going to need a lot of shulker boxes. So I've grabbed 2 shulker boxes full of shulker shells. So the second component for crafting a shulker box is chests. So headed to my wood farm, grabbed some logs, which I'm going to be using to craft the shulker boxes later. Obviously I don't want to do it now because shulker boxes don't stack. And that would be really annoying if I had to move them to my base one by one. Next, I headed back to my base and I grabbed some stone. And then I crafted all that stone into stone buttons. Next, I'm back at the bartering farm to get some more blackstone. Then I crafted this blackstone into polished blackstone and then into polished blackstone slabs. Next, I need some oak logs for my wood farm. Then I crafted them into planks. And now I need some more oak logs and some spruce logs, and I'm crafting them into slabs. I had a few planks left over, which I'm using to craft crafting tables, but I didn't quite have enough, so I got some more oak logs to craft crafting tables. Then I grabbed some birch logs and crafted them into slabs as well. Now I'm at the wool farm for some black wool, which I'm crafting into carpet. Then I headed to my base to get some cobbled deep slate, which I crafted into deep slate tiles. Then I took half the tiles and turned them into stairs. Then I grabbed some blackstone and crafted it into polished blackstone. Next I grabbed some iron bars. Then I got some obsidian. Next I headed to my blaze farm and got some blaze rods. Then I headed to the end again to go to my Enderman XP farm and to get some ender pearls. Then I turned the blaze rods into blaze powder, crafted the ender pearls with the blaze powder to create eyes of ender. Then with those eyes of ender I used the obsidian to make some ender chests. Next I went to the spider farm to get a load of string. And then to my wood farm to get some oak logs. And then I crafted lots of looms. I didn't get enough string though, so I had to go back to my string farm to get more string to craft more looms. Then I headed to the mud farm again, and luckily I had some mud left over. Then I headed to my hay farm, got some hay, turned the mud into packed mud, then turned it into packed mud bricks, then I turned it into packed mud brick slabs. Then I headed back to my base, got some cobbled deep slate, and I crafted it into deep slate bricks, and then into deep slate brick walls. Next I got some redstone, and I got some cobblestone to craft some droppers. Then I got some grass. Then I got some deep slate tiles and I crafted them into slabs. And we are starting to get there with the resources now. Next I needed some torches, then some soul sand. Then I went to my villager trading hall to trade with villagers to get some bookshelves. Next I turned some acacia planks into acacia buttons, and then I did the same with warp planks. Next I got some furnaces, then some levers, then some stone bricks, then some cobblestone walls. Then I got some polished blackstone, put it in the stone cutter and turned it into stairs. Next I killed some more blaze for their rods. Then I got some cobblestone and crafted them together to make brewing stands. Next I got some dirt. Then I got some stone brick slabs. Next I picked out some blast furnaces and some smokers, but I didn't quite have enough of either, so I got some logs to craft some more smokers. And then I got some smooth stone and iron blocks, which I crafted to make blast furnaces. Now with the spare iron blocks, I crafted them into ingots and then crafted them into iron trapdoors. Next I got some blackstone buttons, then I got some anvils, and then I got some oak signs, but I didn't actually get enough oak signs, but I'll explain that in a minute. Then I got light blue and cyan dye, then I got some glow ink, next I got some redstone blocks, then I got some rails, then I got some scaffolding out of this shulker box because I couldn't find it in my storage system, then I got some oak fences, and some redstone lamps. And for the final few items, I got some cartography tables, some composters, some cauldrons. Then I needed to get 10 diamonds, obsidian and books to craft enchanting tables. Then I got some grindstones. And then I got another 5 diamonds and some oak logs to craft some jukeboxes. Then I got some smithing tables and some spruce fence gates. Then I got some stone cutters and bells. And now I got some white wool and oak planks, which I'm going to use to craft beds. And now for the final item, I grabbed loads of oak logs to craft more oak signs. Now the reason I needed more oak signs, as I said, because these are what's going to help me make the water streams for the items to go in. The way I know which items I need is I'm using a schematic. Now on the schematic, I haven't filled the item sorter with water and signs yet, which is why I didn't collect enough earlier. But now I've got all the signs I need. And that is all the resources I need to build the entire mega base. So let's take the resources over to where I'm going to be building it. Here we are, I've got all the resources to build the interior on this little dirt island over here. As you can see, the mega base is just in front of me and it's ready to be filled. So I'm going to be building the interior in stages, and the first stage is to build the floor and all the pipes that go underneath it. So let's start with that and get on with the time lapse. Here we go. And that is the floor done. You may have looked at that and thought that was easy. It wasn't though, because that was hundreds of thousands of stone, which took me 4 days to place down. Yep, building the floor alone took me 4 days. So with the floor complete, what I'm now going to do is split the interior up into quarters and build each one separately. You may be wondering why I'm doing this. It's actually because my render distance isn't going to be high enough to show you all 4 quarters being built at once. So I'm going to do one at a time. That also allows me to split it up a bit easier. So let's start with building the first quarter, which is going to go right here. There we are, that is the first quarter of the build finished. By the way, I'm sorry for the video quality here. I accidentally recorded this bit on the wrong settings, but I fix it for the next clip, don't worry. So, as you can see, that's one quarter finished. You can see these giant storage silos which are going to help to store the individual items. Each storage silo has slots for 60 different items, and in total I'm going to be building 30 of these, which means there's going to be enough space for 1,800 items. Each of these storage silos may not look that impressive, but they each take about 3.5 hours to build. Now with 30 of them, that's a very long time, which as I said earlier, is why it took me weeks and weeks and weeks to do the interior. Now we can fly inside this one to see what it looks like inside, because I've sliced this one off by building it in quarters. Looks pretty cool, you can see how all the inside works. Now, before I start work on building the second quarter, I'm going to move my dirt island into the middle of the base, because otherwise I'm going to keep going out of render distance when I go to gather more resources, which is what happened when I was building the exterior and why some of the time lapses were so flashy. So let's quickly move that now. There we are, I've moved my little island, which is all turned to grass now anyway. So now that I've finished moving my island, I can start on building the second quarter, which you can see is going to go over here, next to where I built the first one. So, let's build it! There we go, that is half of the interior finished already. As you can see, it's looking pretty cool. I can't wait to see what the whole finished product looks like. As you can see, all the storage silos look identical to the ones I built in the first quarter. Mostly because, as I said when I was designing it, it took me months and months to design. I didn't really have any more time to design lots of different storage silos. And I quite like the design for these storage silos, because what I've done, I've used loads of different blocks to make it look like boxes piled up and up and up. So, I think the interior is looking pretty good now, but as I said before, it has taken me about 3.5 weeks to build all of this interior. Which is why I kept having to delay this video so many times. It took so much longer than I thought it would, because surprisingly, placing 2 million items isn't actually that easy. But I'm going to take a little break from building the interior now, and start work on a nether hub. Because my idea is to have a portal in each corner of this base, I want to build a little building to connect all 4 portals. So the first thing I need to do is gather the resources to actually build it. So I headed to my base to start gathering the resources. First I needed warp trapdoors, then I got some sea lanterns, and some blackstone bricks, then some blackstone brick stairs, then I got some regular quartz which I crafted into pillars, then I got some blackstone which I put in the stone cutter to turn into stairs. Then I got some blackstone which I put in the stone cutter again to turn into polished blackstone slabs. I know I said it was the last of the strip logs, but I needed some strip warp logs. Then I needed some regular warp logs, which I crafted into planks. Then I need some obsidian, and some brick slabs, then some warp, some quartz stairs, then I need to get some more blackstone and turn 1 stack into polished blackstone, and 1 stack into polished blackstone stairs. Then I need some quartz bricks, some smooth quartz, then some warp stairs, and some warp slabs. Then I need to get some blackstone and turn them into slabs. And now I've got all the resources to build my nether hub. So I'm going to be building the nether hub right here in the nether. Annoyingly, this blue ice highway goes right through where I want to build it, so I'm going to have to destroy that before I actually get to build it. But let's start building it now. And there it is, that's my brand new nether hub. Now you may have noticed I've only actually built the interior, not the exterior, but don't worry, I haven't forgot, I'm going to do that in a little bit. Kind of the opposite to what I'm actually doing with my mega base. But if we come inside, you can see this is what it looks like. Pretty simple and pretty cool, I quite like it. And in each corner of the nether hub, just like my base, there's a portal. So let's light all of the portals. And now if I come to my actual base, I'm going to build 4 corresponding portals that will link up to the ones I've just built in the nether. That's the first portal. And now that's the second one done. There's the third one. And now that's all 4 portals done. Let's go through and test it and see how it links. There we go, the portals link perfectly. And with that done, I'm going to get to work on step 11 and build the 3rd quarter of my mega base. It is going to go right here, as you can see. I can't wait to get started, so let's go. There we go, that is the third quarter of the interior finished. Now I've only got 1/4 left to build, but before I do that, I'm going to build the exterior of my nether hub. So let me head to my base to start gathering resources, and there we go, that's all the resources gathered. I thought you'd seen enough of me gathering resources, so I thought I'd just gather them all really quickly. So let me get to work building the exterior of my nether hub. Let's grab the resources and get building. And there we go, that is the exterior finished. Just like the interior, I like it. It's a nice and simple but also quite a cool looking design. Let me know what you guys think of this one in the comments. Anyway, now that I've finished building this exterior, I'm going to get on and finish the final quarter of the interior of my mega base. Now, I'm sure you can guess where this quarter is going to go. It's going to go right here in the top right of my base. It's going to look pretty cool, and it's going to complete the interior. I cannot wait. Let's get going. Let's build the final quarter of the interior. And there we go, that is the interior fully finished in my mega base. As you can see from above and walking through it looks really cool. I personally really like having all the redstone exposed so you can see what's going on, and I love being able to interact and see how full the shulker boxes actually are, which were really useful because for some items I'm not going to fully fill a whole shulker boxes anyway. I've designed these shulker box loaders custom so that I can look in them even when they're being loaded. So what do you think of the interior? Let me know in the comments. As you can see, it does look really cool, doesn't it? And in all four corners where the nether portals are, there's even an upstairs bit, which I'm going to be putting all of the things like the stone cutter, the enchanting table and the furnaces in, which I haven't done yet. Speaking of things I need to do, I also need to finish the roof, put all of the water in, put all the items into the item sorter, and transform my mega base. Now, I have unfortunately run out of time in this video, so I'm going to be doing all of that and a few extra things in my next video, which is coming out this time next month. So, please don't forget to subscribe, and if you've enjoyed this video, why not click this one, which is me building the fastest cobblestone farm in Minecraft. And another farm that's the fastest in Minecraft is this guardian farm, so why don't you click that one as well. Thank you so much for watching, bye!